Check this out.
No one knows New York better. The founder of the Guardian Angels, Curtis Sliwa.
And you can't compete against that.
On 77 WABC. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
I have one thing to say. You better work.
Oh, yeah, with 100 days to go to the election. And what does Vice President Harris have to say about her many appearances? Well, she's a star on Drag Race with RuPaul. 3 snaps up. And Matt Blaze, we need some accoutrement. Who are some of the styling and profiling drag queens who are in full 3 snaps up mode with Vice President Harris in her TV debut? I would have said if you had 100 days to go, this is not necessarily the program that's going to get you to catch up to Donald Trump in the polls.
I'm Irene Dubois. I'm the alien queen of Seattle, and I'm here to invade your television sets. My drag is very much inspired by sci-fi, fantasy, and big, glamorous Texas drag queens. I always want to look like I rule some kind of alien kingdom.
Oh my God, my new playground!
I grew up in Texas and had to get the out of there, so I hightailed it to Seattle, and Bosco is actually my drag sister, and we sort of came up in the Seattle drag scene together. She went the demon route, I went the alien route.
I am going to rip this place to shreds.
I have been honing my drag skills for the past 10 years with the sole purpose of taking home this crown.
Oh, I just don't get it. Yeah, let me hear that. You gotta see Vice President Harris strutting her stuff, doing that brat walk of hers on the runway with drag queens. Now, does this mean that she's going to be hosting drag queen hours, reading hours for the little kids at the White House if she does become president, if somehow she overcomes Donald Trump's lead with 100 days to go? Nancy, I cannot imagine, out of all the things that Vice President Harris could have been doing to try to catch up since she's had a late start, that this appearance, 3 snaps up, would be what her campaign team thinks is going to get her over the top.
I have no idea how that got suggested.
Could I hear some of those accoutrements, those drag queens who will be assisting Vice President Harris in her attempt to supersede Donald Trump and become the next president of the United States. Could I, Matt?
Hello, world. My name is Ora Mayari, and I am Nashville's best, most stunning, and most electrifying drag performer. Where's she walking to? I am a dancer. I do a lot of very high energy number, and I am your Filipina goddess. Yes, goddess.
Yeah. I'm impressed. I am so impressed right out of the box in the first week of the campaign. Okay, you got the drag queen vote. No doubt you got that vote. That is such a small percentage of the overall vote. And obviously, Team Trump is going to take full advantage of that. But this comes on the heels, Nancy, of the opening ceremony of the Olympics in Paris, France, where they decided the best way to engage everybody was to do a parody of The Last Supper using transvestites, drag queens, exposing their schlongs since they haven't had sex-altering surgery, and just really making fun of Christianity. The Last Supper. Now, they would never, ever, ever, ever do a parody against Allah or Muhammad. But I guess they thought this was cute, this was funny, this was entertaining, except all of a sudden a series of companies, marketing companies and U.S. tech companies pulled their advertising because they mocked the Last Supper. And so collectively, the producers of that production said, sorry, but we're shocked that anybody would be bothered by this. Shocked that anybody would be bothered by this. Now, around the world, Christians are not the number one biggest population in the world. Obviously, there are others who supersede Christians, but there are a hell of a lot of Christians out there who are interested in watching the Olympic Games, not a parody mocking the Last Supper with trannies, drag queens, exposing their schlongs and dancing and prancing on a stage. I just don't get how it correlates with the Olympic Games.
I mean, my guess would be that whoever was creating this presentation, there's like a lot of artistic types, and they think they're doing something groundbreaking, or they're gonna get everyone excited about something that they're doing, and a lot of stuff just falls pretty flat. So I have a feeling that this is someone who just was a little over anticipating something that didn't happen, and now they're getting blowback. But yeah, I mean, to think that this would have mass appeal, I have no idea why they think that.
And it's part of the opening ceremony, like the first night. First of all, it's bad enough you have the Seine River. Anybody who's ever been in Paris knows that they basically pour raw sewage into the Seine. It stinks. It's where they did the cartoon Pepe Le Pew, the stinky skunk. And they're expecting to do swimming events in the Seine. But on the opening night of festivities, they had all the various athletes, according to the countries they were participating for, on different boats, going down the Seine River. They were flying the flag of their country. Very nice, very nice. And they had Lady Gaga. And then they had Celine Dion. So that was cool. But then they brought out the drag queens mocking the Last Supper. And I'm like, huh?
I mean, and the other part of it too, right? If people are watching the Olympics, however, few still do, I think, but you want to see the ultimate of athletes, and there's almost this expectation of how people are going to look physically, and yeah, that wasn't it. No,
big dumpy drag queens don't cut it.
I know.
And then in addition to that, you had Snoop Dogg, who was like the last with the torch, torching up his blunt on his way in, right before they lit up the urn, the transfers, the torch from Athens, Greece, to whoever it is that's hosting the games, in this case, Paris. So they chose Snoop Dogg, and Snoop Dogg is a color commentator for NBC Sports. which I don't quite get that one. I guess I'm getting older. At 70 years old, there's some things here I just can't connect the dots on. Now, you're a lot younger than me. You're a hipster and millennial.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg is synonymous with rap music, synonymous with smoking blunts, synonymous with basically riffing. But I never, ever associated him with doing color commentary of Olympic sporting events.
What does that mean?
It's sort of like you have your main announcer who will announce, okay, in the 100-meter sprint, you have Valery Starov from Russia.
Oh, he's the announcer?
No. But he's giving the color commentation, sort of describing the athletes, describing where they've come from. And I'm like, what?
Was he smoking while he was doing this?
Damn right. This guy doesn't do anything unless he's smoking a blunt.
All right. Well,
So there's like a purple haze hanging over the broadcast booth. Somehow, I just don't get it. I'm thinking Marty Glickman, old school, announcing Olympic events, the wide world of sports, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, Roland Arledge, ABC Sports, Kurt Gowdy, announcing. I don't quite get this. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, maybe some of you out there do. We'll open up our phone lines, 1-800-848-9222. That's 1-800-848-WABC. And let me know if you've even bothered watching the Olympic Games. I just don't feel the buzz. I don't feel like the urge to watch any of the events. There's like, we need a boogeyman. We need a heel. We had that when I was growing up. I don't know if you had that, Nancy, but we had the Soviet Union in the Cold War. Their athletes all roided up, all drugged up against America's best. So you knew who the demons were, and you knew who the heroes were, and you cheered for the Americans. Except I think I lost it in the Montreal Olympics when the decathlon champ, one of the greatest athletes of all time, Bruce Jenner. And now Bruce Jenner is, what's her name now?
Caitlyn Jenner?
Caitlyn Jenner, yeah, well, she actually was the first to endorse me when I ran for mayor of the city of New York. Oh, my God, did that give me grief. Blowback. I
have one thing to say.
Bruce Jenner, maybe greatest male athlete of our era. Montreal Olympics, wins the decathlon, came out of Connecticut. He lived in Westchester for a while. He was on the Wheaties box. And now he's who?
Caitlyn Jenner?
Caitlyn Jenner. Who was the first to endorse me to become mayor of New York City. And she, I can call her a she now, right?
I guess.
She asked for a cross endorsement. Remember, she was running for governor of California, and that was a recall election to try to replace Gruesome Newsom. He overcame the recall. People were very upset that she was endorsing me, and I returned the endorsement, right? You scratch my belly, I scratch yours. It didn't quite work out as I had hoped. No, I wasn't prepared for that. I met her in the hallways of WABC on the day I had to leave WABC, because once I had officially announced that I was running, I couldn't be on the radio any longer. And the first person who I see in the hallway is Caitlyn Jenner. She goes, "I love you. I've followed your career. I want to endorse you for mayor. Would you endorse me?" And what the hell was I supposed to say? No. I returned the favor to the greatest male, she was the greatest male athlete of all time. Do you realize how difficult the decathlon is, Nancy? Do you know all the sports involved in the decathlon?
And I'm thinking there's swimming and maybe running.
No. Running, yes. And then pole vaulting, high jumping, I think the pentathlon. You got man, there's so many different sports involved in the decathlon. I marveled at how good Bruce Jenner was when he was on that Wheaties box. Montreal Olympics. He dominated. Broke my heart. to know that Bruce became, what was her name again? I want to...
Caitlin.
Yeah. Our number is 1-800-848-9222. That's 1-800-848-WABC. Let's go to Eric, who's calling from Monroe. Your turn to be heard here on WABC, Eric.
Curtis, I love you. You are the man. How does Bruce Jenner become gay?
Man, I am lost on that one.
That's my question for you.
I wish I knew. All I knew is Caitlyn Jenner was the first person to endorse me for mayor of the city of New York. I couldn't say no. She asked me if I would endorse her for the governorship. I said, why not? You are the greatest athlete. I couldn't say male athlete. I might have offended her. I was just in a tough situation, Eric. Eric, you have no empathy, no sympathy for me whatsoever. Neither does my wife, Nancy. You're a little jealous of me there, right?
Jealous of what?
Yeah, well, the first endorsement of me for mayor came from a man who became a woman who was, in his time, the greatest male athlete, the GOAT, greatest of all time.
You're very perceptive, Curtis.
Anyway, when we return, Nancy, are you joining the Rat Pack? Because, we just finished listening to Joe Piscopo, does 2 great hours of Frank Sinatra, the nostalgia, actually sponsored by Ramsey Mazda. It's coast to coast now. It is a show that is heard now across the nation. And the Rat Pack, from what I remember, was Dean Martin, Peter Lawford, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., and Joey Bishop. But Eric Adams is wanting us to join the Rat Pack. Wait till you hear this coming up. This is a mind blower. This is what our mayor does, encouraging you to join the Rat Pack. Right here on WABC, your place to be, 1-800-848-9222.
Talk Radio 77 WABC.
To the teachers, assistants, and support staff who see potential in every child, Grand Canyon University recognizes you. We created the National Center for Teacher Preparation at GCU, along with a generous scholarship, so you can become a licensed teacher with paid benefits. Over 100 GCU alumni have been recognized award recipients, including Superintendent, Administrator, and Teacher of the Year. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu/parapro.
New York's talk station with the king of New York. Curtis Sliwa, 77 WABC. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
All right, I got to catch a train soon. Are you? What
are you complaining about? I got to go to a bar mitzvah in a minute. They heard the breeze through the trees, singing weird melodies, and they named that the start of the blues.
And from a jail came a wail from a down-hearted frail, and they called that the start of the blues. From a whippoorwill high on a hill.
How about that?
They took a new note. Oh, shut in a horn till it was born. I'll call you if I need you. Till it's a blue note. Get off the stage. And then they nursed it. And they rehearsed it.
How does it feel to sit in the back of the bus?
Then I came out the news that the Southland really gave birth.
Let's give Dean a chance.
It's something. Safe? 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 Am I safe? I'm safe. Stuck it in the hole. Forced it in the hole.
Now, this is the Rat Pack, right? this you would think you might normally hear with Joe Piscopo, Jersey Joe. But no, we're playing a Rat Pack song fest featuring Dean Martin, Peter Lawford, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., and Joey Bishop. And why are we playing the Rat Pack here, Nancy?
This was an initiative today that was launched by Eric Adams. He had one of his press conferences in Sunset Park, and he had his rat czarina there. And this is an attempt to try and eradicate the rat issue in New York City once again.
Because he's failing miserably.
Yeah, that's true.
But one thing I don't understand, and I've asked you a few times.
Sure.
Who is this lady in red that is always with the mayor? She always wears red. She wears red more than I wear my red sateen jacket and red beret. Always in red.
Yeah, this is Jennifer Raj Kumar. So, yeah, I've seen her for several months at the press conferences. At first, it was trying to figure out like who this lady was all the time, and she does wear that same sort of outfit, as well as like a full set of makeup. Her hair is always done no matter where she's at, like morning, noon, night, out in the country, whatever. It's always that. And then she always looks real goofy. Got this goofy smile on her face.
Yeah, she does look like a goofball.
Yeah,
now,
she does.
What is her name again?
I believe it's Jennifer Raj Kumar.
Raj Kumar. Mm-hmm. She's an assemblywoman. She represents Woodhaven, Queens. But she's attached to the mayor like an appendage. Now, yeah. I would think that that's his boo, but we've been told that his boo is a woman named Tracy, who works for the Department of Education, dumbest organization ever, got quite a salary increase, lives in apartment 22H in Fort Lee, where she co-owns the condo with Eric. Remember, this is the woman that he claimed that was his... What did he call her? His partner? I
think domestic partner or something like that.
And the only time we ever saw her was at that first Metropolitan Gala when he had that weird jacket on. Yeah. That was supposed to be espousing against gun violence. It was weird.
Yeah.
And so Tracy was there with him that one time only, and we haven't seen her since. But every time we see this lady in red... Raj, what's her name?
Raj Kumar.
Raj Kumar, East Indian. And always the number one sycophantody and lackey of the mayor. He always has her introduce him. But it is really bizarre because she's there when it's not even appropriate for her to be there because it's not her district. It's not anything she's good at. She's just there.
Yeah, she's just there.
Look, historically, and I've said this before, the lady in red was infamous. It's how they got John Dillinger, the number one most wanted criminal in America during the Depression. He robbed banks, and sometimes he'd get into shootouts. This is how a young J. Edgar Hoover made his bones at the start of the FBI. They had gotten some information. The John Dillinger, most wanted criminal in America, was in the company of a lady in red. And he had walked into a movie theater. And so while they were watching the movie inside, J. Edgar Hoover huddled with some of the other brand new agents, and he gave the orders, which was, whoever's walking out with the lady in red, blast them. Don't ask them any questions. Don't ask them, are you John Dillinger? Just unload on this guy before he gets the drop on you. So they're coming out of the theater, and the moment the lady in red appears, they shot him like 68 times. I mean, he didn't even have a chance to blow his nose. So that's why whenever I think of the lady in red, I think, oh my God, that's how J. Edgar Hoover made his bones at the beginning of the FBI, which stood for Forever Busting Italians at that time. Then after 9/11, Forever Busting Islamists, and of late, for being incompetent. You like that one? For being incompetent.
Good,
for being inept.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. Ray. No, Trump wasn't shot with a bullet. It was shrapnel. The very next day, sorry, Mr. Director, it was a bullet. I want you to hear, what's her name again, lady in red?
Raj Kumar.
God, this woman's head, it's like a bobblehead doll. It's like, I've never seen anything like it before. But this is what she is utilized for, as she always accompanies the swagger man with no plan.
There's no better partner in this endeavor than our great mayor, Eric Adams. And his famous saying is stay focused, no distractions, and grind.
Yeah, I hope they're not grinding on the dance floor. But anyway, what's the name of this new venture he started today in Sunset Park, Brooklyn?
Well, he dubbed it the Rat Pack,
Not the Brat Pack, no. Brad being very cool with Kamala Harris. Now, Brad, not the Brat Pack, not the Frat Pack, the Rat Pack.
Yeah.
Based on, I guess, the Rat Pack involving Sinatra, Peter Lawford, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and Joey Bishop, right?
Yes.
Wrong.
And so now we're doing something new. We're recruiting an entirely new generation of the Rat Pack. As a song, when I walked up, you don't have to be Frank Sinatra and the crew. It's just a different type of leader to fight the rats. And we want you to join up and become a member of our Rat Pack. You don't need to sing. All you have to do is to become a member, is be an official New York City Rat Pack member and get the swag, the hat, this T-shirt to prove it, and the confidence to go after those pesky critters. You will have to attend a 2-hour New York City Department of Health Rat Academy session that will give you real instructions on how to deal with rodents. 2, participate in New York City Service. Rat mitigation event. New York City Service is a real partner throughout the city. A lot of our corporate and community groups come together and go after those basic services in the city, and volunteerism is a real win. And 3, go out on a rat walk hosted by our city's own rat czar, Kathy Karate. Those 3 items will allow you to join and become a member of our Rat Pack, and you can be proud to lead your community to a rat-free environment.
A rat walk. This guy's got too much time on his hands. What the hell is a rat walk?
I mean, that's pretty much coming home from the subway like any night.
That's right. You don't need to go on a special walk.
You don't need like a guidance.
You just look out in the street. They're running up and down all around.
Ooh, I saw some creepy stuff yesterday. I saw beyond the rats. It was like little cockroaches running around the streets, so it's getting pretty skanky.
So we got mice.
Yeah.
We got cockroaches. And most importantly, we got rats.
And homeless people.
And a lot of homeless people and emotionally disturbed.
Yeah, that too. And garbage. That too.
But I think he's trying to be cool and hip and saying, yeah, join the Rat Pack. What young people are going to join a Rat Pack?
I mean, I don't think you'd want to be telling your friends you're in the Rat Pack. He'd be like, don't come over to my house, man.
Man, that is so cool and so hip. And the lady in red is just, oh my God, like a bobblehead doll.
Yeah, notice they didn't get her to put that goofy attire on.
Yeah, you have to look at this uniform they created. No doubt we paid for it on tax dollars.
Oh, absolutely. 1,000%.
It is the goofiest looking uniform you'd ever see. None of it fits, which I'm very surprised to me. You know, everything always has to be customized.
Yeah.
It really looks like it's draped over him. Doesn't look good. Ain't nobody who's into fashion going to be wanting to wear that hat and that shirt. And he said that volunteerism is a good thing, right?
I mean, that's what he claimed.
Well, wait a second. I volunteered to be the rat czar. I could have dealt with this problem. I was at least truthful and say you will never beat the rats. You can only hope for détente.
And notice that his volunteerism didn't have to do with actually doing anything regarding the rats. It's just generic volunteerism.
And as you pointed out, you don't really have to go on a special rat walk. They're all around.
Yeah, and I've been to that Rat Academy. So that 2 hours that supposedly is going to give you all the skills you need to have, it doesn't.
Wait a second. What did you learn at the Rat Academy?
Well, yeah, I think I saw Adams like just drown some rats and then it was over.
Wait. So you went to Brooklyn Borough Hall when his solution to resolving the rat problem was to drown them and then use a ladle and take them out, right?
Yeah, it was mortifying.
Well, he was complaining about that you were complaining about the way that he killed rats.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not really going to help anyone that method because who's carrying around these buckets of water? I mean, where would you play? And the whole thing is just not feasible. But it was actually disturbing, and he seemed kind of to take a weird thrill in just these drowned rat bodies.
And he used the ladle. I'll never forget that. He used the ladle to actually ladle the dead rats out.
The hush fell over the crowd like, oh, my God.
And now we have a Rat Pack. Nancy, why don't you and I become the first members of the Rat Pack?
They'll be like, I'm sorry, we can't accept your application.
Why? I volunteered to be the rat czar. And remember, he made a big thing of it and then made fun of me at the annual State of the City address in Flushing Meadow Park. I said I would be the rat czar, no cost, volunteer, because as you know, I'm nocturnal. I'm up at night. Rats are up at night. Owls are up at night. Flacco the owl. Cats are up at night. They're nocturnal. I'm familiar with the nocturnal workings of the naked city. And then he decided to drop the bomb on me, and the whole world heard him, Eric Adams, make fun of me.
Hiring our new rat czar, and it won't be Curtis Sliwa, will be just the beginning of a new era in delivering the best in public service and public spaces.
I don't get that. I could have helped a whole lot. The rat problem's actually gotten worse in the city. And they were claiming that the heat would help end the life of rats because they normally live about 1 year, maybe 1.5 years max, and the heat would cause them to dehydrate and they would die from that. But I haven't seen them dying from the heat.
I haven't seen that either.
I see them getting bigger and fatter and healthier than ever before.
They're like squatting in houses now.
That's right. We got rat squatters. This is unbelievable. Our number is 1-800-848-9222. It's 1-800-848-WABC. Let's go, if we can, to Patrick in New Jersey. Your turn to be heard here on WABC, Pat.
Hello, Curtis. Hello, Nancy. It's a pleasure to speak with you. My question is this. If the opening games at the Olympics did something to offend the Muslim religion, the Jewish religion, Jehovah's Witnesses, or any others, how would that be received versus what they did to the Christian religion, Catholic religion?
Well, let's just stick with the Muslim religion because they have a lot of Muslims right there in Paris and throughout France now because they've come in through North Africa. They would be rioting, there'd be looting, there'd be arson, there would be absolutely no tolerance of that whatsoever. But you see, they bank on the fact that you can do parodies against Christians, and there'll be some complaints, but there won't be any substantial blowback whatsoever, Patrick. So that's why they're always picking on the Christians.
I just find it amazing, the double standard of it all. Why are they so afraid to go after everybody, but they want to still focus on Christians, Catholics, that whole thing?
Well, they associated Christianity with Western civilization, the Western world, and I think to a great degree, America. They hate America.
And it's weird that the defense of what this opening ceremony was it's inclusivity, but apparently it's not including the Christians. Like everybody but them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's go to Philly Boy calling from Alabama. Your turn to be heard here at WABC, Philly Boy.
Hey, what's up, Curtis? I just saw the Mamaluke Frank playing table tennis today at the Olympics. Was that him?
Well, I know he's not here this week, so it might be him. As part of the opening ceremonies of the Olympic Games in Paris, they dedicated it to France's main product, which is cheese. fromage, and Frank is addicted to cheese fromage, including Velveeta. His own wife, Rachel, when she wants the urge to merge, will put on the Velveeta nail polish, and it acts like an aphrodisiac for Frank.
Yeah, I know. He was off this week. I just want to make sure I was checking with you. I saw a chubby guy wearing a blue sweatsuit warming up at the tabletop tennis. Just want to make sure if he was there or not.
Philly boy, I believe he is. Now, he has an...
Wait, actually, wasn't he dancing in the opening ceremony?
You mean with the drag queens? He has a table tennis, or as I call it, ping pong tournament once a year.
Table tennis sounds more athletic.
Right. He invites about 100 people to his home in the South Shore of Staten Island with only one ping pong table.
Yes. Without stadium seating, I'm assuming.
Nothing.
No air.
No air, no drinks.
No windows.
Just small talk.
I have no idea what's going on.
And people go. People showed up. Noam Laden showed up this year. I said, Noam, do you have nothing of importance to do in your life that you would show up for a table tennis tournament in which Frank Morano has only one table, two paddles, and one ping pong ball in his basement? And he said, well, I didn't go there for ping pong. I went there for small talk. I said, boy, your life must be really miserable. Anyway, let's go to Ray in New Jersey. Your turn to be heard here at WABC, Ray.
Hello?
Yeah, right.
Hello, is this Mr. Sliwa?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, I've been listening to you for years. Hey, I was listening to you were talking about this rat problem. I have a device, which I made a few for people already, different sizes. There's no chemicals, and these can be made so cheap, and they'll catch rats like you ain't never seen. They're filled with, you put oil in them that you get for free from like McDonald's and places like that, because they got to get rid of it, and that'll attract them. And they walk in the top, fall right in, and then all you got to do is get a truck to take them away and put another rat trap there. So I'd like to leave my number if somebody's interested and call me. I'm 80 years old and I'm handicapped.
Ray, we got just the guy we're going to put you in touch with. Stay on the line. I'm going to put him in touch with the rat czarina of the city of New York. I'm sure this might be something she'll go for, since nothing else seems to be working. So what he's basically saying for the non-cognoscente of Mickey D's McDonald's is that they have what they call a grease trap. When you're making the hamburgers, and then you basically, the grease goes right into these side traps. And what he wants to do is drown the rats in these grease traps. I don't know, he's more of a sadist than even the mayor is. The mayor is actually drowning the rats in fresh water, right?
Yeah, but then you have to bring McDonald's grease into your house, which I would caution against.
No. Look, the city needs help. Ray, at 80 years old, he's a bit handicapped.
Isn't that stuff like toxic?
It doesn't matter. We need help. Maybe he'll join the Rat Pack. Could I hear the beginning of Eric Adams announcing the Rat Pack? Please, Matt Plays. This was so scintillating today in Sunset Park.
And so now we're doing something new. We're recruiting an entirely new generation of the Rat Pack. As a song, when I walked up, you don't have to be Frank Sinatra and the crew. It's just a different type of leader to fight the rats. And we want you to join up and become a member of our Rat Pack.
Oh, God.
Isn't there enough bullying that happens in school without people volunteering for this type of stuff?
So corny, too.
And then you're going to wear your gear to school. That's going to go over real well.
Maybe they'll have special Boy Scout patches for achieving results, for being a member of the Rat Pack. Boy, times must be tough at City Hall. This guy's got too much time on his hands.
Well, it's good to see the office is spinning its wheels and doing something.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Let's go to Dave real quick in Pennsylvania. Your turn to be heard here at WABC, Dave.
Hey, guys, it sounds like you're dealing with a lot of cluster S. I wanted to give you the military terminology for that if you don't know it. A cluster F is a Charlie Foxtrot in military terms. And then the other one, which is an acronym in the military, is a FUBAR, F-U-B-A-R, effed up beyond all imagination. So that's what I had for you.
Absolutely outstanding. He is now a member of academia with those acronyms. He had me fooled. And he had Matt Blaze fooled. But not you, Nancy. You're a college graduate. You're a law school graduate, Brooklyn Law. You're a E-attorney. I noticed you knew exactly what he was talking about.
I say we nominate him for honorary Rat Packer.
Let's go to John in New York. Your turn to be heard here at WABC, John.
Hey, Curtis, thanks for taking the call. I got a question for you. You know, I listen to you with Sid. I listen to you on the graveyard shift, so I listen to you at night. When the hell you go to sleep?
John, I have a standard that I live by, which is there'll be plenty of time to sleep when I'm dead. And as you know, John, if you have followed my life in times, enough people have tried to whack me, kill me, have basically put the Malukia on me, the Italian evil eye, done everything they could to make sure they retire me into a grave a lot sooner than I should have been, that I don't want to go to sleep. I just want to stay awake, and I just want to broadcast morning, noon, and night at WABC, which stands for Always Broadcasting Curtis, John.
It seems like you do. I got my wife listening to you now. She gets up early to listen to you with Sid. She says, I haven't killed this guy yet, the way you're talking about some people.
Wow, you see? I'm bringing partners together, husbands and wives. They're doing things together, listening to me as I contribute to Sid's show Monday through Friday at 7:15. You look forward to that, don't you, John?
I do. I always get up early, but because I work all night, so I listen to you on the way. But she got up and she started listening to you. She says, haven't they killed this guy yet? I said, well, he makes you laugh, doesn't he?
I'm the man.
That's right.
You would sit, and I think Nancy's really the one that calms everybody down, having her animal things. I always wait for Sunday night when she gets on these animal things. You know?
Oh, yeah, that's coming up in more than an hour. But before we get to that, we got to get to J.D. Vance. His attack on cat ladies and women who don't have children is not going over very well throughout America. By the way, the Rat Pack, I think I'm going to form the alternative, Nancy, the Cat Pack. Because if you want to eliminate rats, you got to have cats. So my adversarial first throwdown against Eric Adams, swagger man with no plan, is he's got his Rat Pack, and I will organize my Cat Pack.
WABC. Talk Radio 77 WABC. Check this out. No one knows New York better. The founder of the Guardian Angels, Curtis Sliwa.
You can't compete against that.
On 77 WABC. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
I like to be in America. Okay, by me in America. Everything free in America.
For a small fee in America.
Buying on credit is so nice.
One look at us and they charge twice.
I have my own washing machine.
What will you have, though, to keep clean?
Skyscrapers bloom in America. Cadillac zoom in America. Industry boom in America.
Wealth in a room in America.
This is a theme song for the continuing invasion of the migrants. It doesn't stop. White House spokesperson, though, on Friday insisted that Giggles Harris, the vice president, was in fact not the border czar. You see, and I've told our audience this on a regular basis, Nancy, you've heard me say this, it doesn't matter Republicans or Democrats. They truly believe that people are stupid, still not, that they won't remember what you said 5 seconds ago, 5 minutes ago, 5 days ago, 5 weeks ago, 5 months ago, 5 years ago. They truly believe that you will not remember all the times the President Joe Biden referred to Vice President Harris as the border czar. So the spokesperson of the White House immediately said she was never the border czar. Well, that's not going to resolve the problem.
Yeah, and actually it was funny. They went further to explain what she was doing, and it was as vague as possible, and said more narrowly focused on why people immigrate in the first place.
Yeah, asylum seekers. That's because their lives are being threatened. They're political exiles.
They're being offered a lot of great things in New York City, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah,
they're here, for the most part, to have a better quality of life, make more money, live the American dream. We know why they're coming, for the most part. Not them, not all of them. But oh boy, do we have a mess on our hands here in New York City as they continue to pour in, get processed at the Roosevelt Hotel, and get sent to a number of locations. We're now up, Nancy, to 225 migrant hotels throughout the 5 boroughs of the city of New York. Now, we were told that there are less migrants coming in, and yet they've expanded the number of migrant centers by an additional 25. So we're now at 225. Average cost of a room that we're paying for a migrant is about $228 now a night. And that doesn't include all the ancillary things that we do for the migrants, including their laundry. We make their beds. We give them 3 squares, and when they
I think foot rubs are involved as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when they object to getting a bagel and deshmear in the morning, we say, oh, it's no problem. We'll get you culturally appropriate food. Just order it from Grubhub. Who's paying for it? Well, the sucker taxpayers. Well, it's all come to a head. If we just look to the most populated borough, it's Brooklyn. And in the northern part, near the old Navy Yard, Brooklyn Navy Yard, is a place called Hall Street in Clinton Hill. Very liberal, very progressive, a lot of socialists, a lot of hipsters and millennials who have moved in to a community mostly populated at one point by older African Americans who own homes there. Well, they've had enough because Eric Adams, swagger man with no plan, put in 1 square block in 2 warehouses, 4,500 single able-bodied men of military age with nothing to do, nowhere to go. They've had stabbings. They're dealing drugs. They just had a shootout between 2 different Venezuelan gangs that they haven't even resolved yet. And finally, the community came together. Socialists with Democrats, many of whom had voted for Eric Adams, and they say now they'll never vote for him again. Listen to the anger of a lifelong African-American resident who says, enough is enough. Eric, you have created a disaster, a mess.
Hey, Renee, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
How do you feel like to see all this stuff going on in your area? You grew up here.
This is a shame. I don't even have to wait for you to finish. This is a shame. We are disgusted here. I grew up here. My family has been here since 1940. This is not a good representation of New York City, Brooklyn, nor this neighborhood. Other nations are watching, and they are laughing at us that we are not in control of a situation. This has turned into a mess, a total mess.
And it is. Garbage everywhere, put out into the streets by the migrants. They defecate, they urinate. The stench underneath the BQE is overwhelming. They have a children's park with all the sprinklers on with no children. Nobody will go in there because all the migrants are hanging out. They're smoking weed, they're drinking cerveza.
I think they're having sex, too.
They are. It's a mess. It is a mess. Now, that's the northern part of Brooklyn. But you see, they were so sensitive, they didn't want to be called xenophobes or racists. I had offered to organize them. You remember, Nancy, I said, I'll organize you. They said, no. All we want is for other neighborhoods to take their fair share. They're thinking that their brothers and sisters in Solidarity in Park Slope, very liberal, very progressive, very socialist, would take 400. Nope. Then they figured, in Williamsburg, you'll take 400. Nope. In Dumbo, you'll take 400. Nope. Nobody will take any of the migrants. So guess what? You're stuck with them. Meantime, the Chinese community in Bensonhurst and Gravesend have come out by the thousands. 86th Street and 25th Avenue, they're there every morning from 6, and they go to 9 o'clock at night, and they're banging their placards, and they're saying no to a men's shelter that Eric Adams insists he's going to put right on that corner, and they are defying him and saying, go ahead, arrest us. Nancy, you accompanied me on a march today that started in Foley Square, then went over the Brooklyn Bridge to Cadman Plaza. How many thousands of Chinese would you estimate were in that march in protest against what Eric Adams is trying to do to their community by force homeless shelters in?
Yeah, it was a huge crowd. Like, I know that when we made it all the way across the bridge, we're looking back, and the crowd was the entire bridge and then some, so I'm not sure how many thousands that would be.
Eric Adams, there's just no way you're going to force a men's shelter into that community. And then lastly, I ended the day going to the Neptune Diner, Grand Central Parkway, and right before you enter the Triborough Bridge, it'll never be the RFK Bridge. That was renamed by then Governor Patterson, my husband-in-law. He wasted millions of dollars in changing the signs. Nobody refers to it as the RFK Bridge. It's the Triborough Bridge. But 40 years of operation, a Greek family owned the Neptune Diner. Political careers were made in the Neptune Diner. Political careers ended in the Neptune Diner. It used to be packed morning, noon, and night, and then COVID hit. And then people started not coming out at night. And Nancy, as you know, when we were organizing Astoria for Kelly Klingman's run against Tiffany Caban to replace that socialist as councilwoman, we would have our meetings in the Neptune Diner and almost nobody was there. And now it's closing its doors tonight at 12 midnight. It's a diner like so many diners that was open 24 hours, run by Greeks, where you could get really good food at an affordable price in really good locations. And now there are less and less of them as the city continues to slip into the abyss.
New York's talk station with the king of New York, Curtis Sliwa, 77 WABC. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
In the house, electronic dance music. It means that Nancy Sliwa is here, attached to me by the hip, especially on this subject. You know, Nancy, it looked like Team Trump was going to sail to victory when Joe Biden remained the candidate. He was inept. He was impaired. He was falling, and he couldn't get up, and he didn't have his medical alert. He was down for the count. And it looked like it really didn't matter who Donald Trump would choose for his vice president. Probably one of the reasons he chose J.D. Vance. But then again, I never trust anybody with three names. J.D. Vance. For purposes of description, I'll call him James Dean Vance. You know, cool, hip happening. I think James Dean, the actor, came out of Indiana. But it turned out he was gay. Who knew? Who knew he was a chick magnet, right? You know, rebel without a cause. Women swooned over the guy. He died at an early age. But it turned out he was actually gay as Rock Hudson. But we'll put that aside. So, the President, Donald Trump, decides to go with J.D. Vance. He had four choices for vice president. There was the governor of North Dakota, who we've actually met here at the studios at WABC because he had made a few appearances with John Katzimatidis and Rita Cosby on the 5 o'clock roundtable discussion. And Nancy, he personally thanked us for saving the wild horses in his state of North Dakota, where the federal government wanted to slaughter them. And you led the effort on the Animal Welfare Hour, which is coming up in just an hour. And you were praised by people calling up from North Dakota because you were able to direct people to start calling up the federal government, which then decided to declare no mas, no mas. They have a sanctuary now for the wild horses. And the governor and his chief of staff were kind enough to thank us for contributing to that effort. So he was like a really stand-up guy. Then, of course, it was Tim Scott, African-American senator from South Carolina, and Marco Rubio, who is my favorite, senator from Florida. But President Trump has this Achilles heel. He won't let the election in 2020 go. He still believes it was stolen from him. He will bring it up on occasion, even though we're 100 days away from the election results in 2024. And apparently, according to sources within Team Trump, the rationale to pick J.D. Vance over the other three was that J.D. Vance is an election denier. Now, remember, he wasn't a senator at that time of the election. He got elected to the Senate with the help of Trump the year after. But Marco Rubio and Tim Scott were members of the United States Senate, and they validated the election results, stipulating that Joe Biden had won. And apparently the governor of North Carolina had gone on record as saying, yes, he too believed that Joe Biden had won. So they were not election deniers. J.D. Vance was. He went with J.D. Vance. I said it was a horrible choice. Sid Rosenberg said it was a horrible choice. Most folks that I spoke with said, why him? And then they talked about Hillbilly Elegy, which was a great book, turned into a movie about his upbringing in Kentucky. Tough life. His mother was addicted, I believe, to Oxy. She's now off it. She's clean. Great story of coming out of nowhere. And then right out of high school, volunteers for the United States Marine Corps, goes to Iraq, then comes back after a tour of duty, ends up going to college, then makes entry into Yale Law School, where he meets his wife, who happens to be a practicing Hindu and East Indian. And then he goes out west to Silicon Valley, venture capitalist, with a big-time supporter of Donald Trump, although I forget the guy's name. He's the gay venture capitalist. I just forget his name at this point. I'm suffering from Bidenomics. I cracked at 70. I mean, I used to whip these things off. I used to have memorized them, and now, whatever. And he made a lot of money. And then he moves back to Ohio. He's written the book. They loved him in NPR. They loved him on MSNBC, the liberal outlets, because it was really a great story. And then he says that the change that he had towards Trump, because he was really adversarial towards Trump, said some really bad things about Donald Trump publicly, in print. He didn't back off from it. But he said he changed his mind because his wife was a clerk to Judge Kavanaugh when he was going through the nominating process to become the next U.S. Supreme Court justice. And, that was a bitter hearing. And J.D. Vance said he had a change in mind about Trump because he saw Trump could have said, Kavanaugh, I'm going to go with a different judge. This is just too hot to handle. And he marveled at the fact that Trump dug in and supported Kavanaugh's nomination even more. Eventually, he did become a United States Supreme Court justice. And slowly but surely, J.D. Vance became a Trumper. But he made a statement 3 years ago to Tucker Carlson, I believe when he was still with the Fox News channel, that has haunted him on the campaign trail. And there's probably other things he said that is going to haunt him. That's part of the vetting process. The media just unloads on you. But let's play it as he said it.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made. And so they want to make the rest of the country miserable, too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it?
I guess that's a code word for heathens.
You did not take well to that statement.
Well, it just doesn't make any sense.
In what way? In what way?
Well, first of all, it's lacking in logic. People without kids that I've known along the way are way happier than those who have kids. So, yeah, I don't think they're miserable. I think they're pretty excited that they, escaped that one. I don't know.
Then his other rationale was that you're really not contributing to society and really don't understand the way our country should be unless you're producing kids.
Think about it this way, though. If you created a person, you made that responsibility, so it is your job to take care of that. So now you're going to have less time to help other people because you have a responsibility. I'm not sure why we're applauding you because you're taking care of something you're supposed to take care of. That's on you.
I'm also amazed because I know of a lot of people who should never have had kids to begin with. They didn't want them. They don't look after them. I end up dealing with them in the streets. They have no discipline, no structure. In fact, they're on a one-way trip to Palookaville, so to speak. They're going to be in juvie hall soon. They're going to be in prison. You can almost figure it all out. And you say to yourself, well, these people really didn't want kids, and they took none of the responsibilities of raising the kids. We got a lot of people like that in America. All you had to do is watch the Jerry Springer show. Jerry.
Or Paternity Court.
Paternity Court. Or who's that? Who's that daddy? Who's the daddy? Although nowadays, if Maury Povich were on, and whether you had a black guy up there or a white guy, being questioned as to whether it was his child, and, they have the DNA test, some Venezuelan guy in the audience would say, I'll take it. It's my kid. Well, no, it doesn't match the DNA. Doesn't matter. I need a kid here because then they can't deport me back when Trump gets elected. Once you have a kid, you ain't going back. People don't realize you are not going back. Once you have that anchor baby, especially Republicans, evangelicals are not going to break up a family and send one member of the family back because they believe in a whole unit.
And then what about the families or the married people who do have pets? Do they fall into that same category? So it's two things. You're unmarried and you have cats, apparently.
Okay, so that was said 3 years ago.
Okay, 3 years ago. He's grown since then.
I've said a lot of things that, let's face it, come back to haunt me all the time.
I'm pretty happy with everything I've ever said, so I'm good.
So he had a chance to address that, and he chose the Megyn Kelly podcast to do that. I don't know if he necessarily fixed it.
Obviously, it was a sarcastic comment. I've got nothing against cats. I've got nothing against dogs. I've got one dog at home, and I love him, Megyn. But look, this is not, people are focusing so much on the sarcasm and not on the substance of what I actually said. And the substance of what I said, Megyn, I'm sorry, it's true.
Now,
What was the substance of it, though?
Hold on.
I'm confused what the substance was.
He says the original comment was sarcasm.
Okay.
I would have given him that. But he answered it with sarcasm with Megyn Kelly. Listen to it. Hold on. I want to bifurcate it. So start it, and I'll tell you when to stop it.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made. And so they want to make the rest of the country miserable, too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it?
That's 3 years ago. Kamala Harris has adopted children with her, she's
stepmom.
Stepmom,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
With her husband.
Yeah.
Pete Buttigieg now has a child with his boo husband, whatever he refers to him as. AOC, all out crazy. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, leader of the Socialists of America, as far as I know, does not have any children yet. Although she has a boo, that big, tall... What is he? A Badger boy from Wisconsin with the red hair and hair on his toes. That was disgusting what I saw there in Miami. Yuck! But anyway, I digress. So that was 3 years ago. Okay. Did it sound sarcastic? Yes, it did. So he gets on the podcast of Megyn Kelly the other day, and this is what I want to bifurcate. He answers it just as sarcastically as his first bit of sarcasm. Play it with Megyn Kelly.
Obviously, it was a sarcastic comment. I've got nothing against cats. I've got nothing against dogs. I've got one dog at home.
So he clears himself with being anti-dog, anti-cat. But now, when it comes to childless women, he doesn't offer any kind of apology or say, well, that was uncouth, that was cruel. You know, he could have used his wife at that point, said, you know, my wife, even when she saw it on TV, she said, you know, JD, there's a lot of women out there that either can't have children, they're fighting to have children, or they don't want children, and they're contributing to the world. But oh no, he had to go on and say, I was right about that part of it.
Megyn, but look, this is not, people are focusing so much on the sarcasm and not on the substance of what I actually said. And the substance of what I said, Megyn, I'm sorry, it's true.
It's true. Where did they find this guy? The one problem that Trump has in getting elected, now that the Democratic Party has been resurrected and revived with a functional candidate. You may not like, Giggles Harris, but she's functional, whereas Joe Biden was not. Joe Biden was a natural knockout. Right now, if you keep letting J.D. Vance talk, it's going to encroach on a woman's vote that is not in the bag for Trump. You know, it's amazing. In 2016, when your candidate, Bernie the Altacaca Sanders, Nancy, was denied the Democratic nomination because of the superdelegates in Philadelphia, you told me you were going to vote for Trump, right?
That's correct.
So you went from Bernie Sanders to Trump. And there were quite a few people that did that. But when you did the analytics in the last 11 days of 2016, the reason that Donald Trump surprisingly beat Hillary, she thought it was in the bag, was that independent women broke for Donald Trump in the last 11 days, giving him the margin of victory. Hillary was still in a fetal position for about a month there at Jacob Javits Center. She couldn't move. She couldn't believe it. And remember when Donald Trump came onto the stage and they announced, Donald, you're the president of the United States. He was the most surprised person in the world. He thought he had lost that day. I had heard him earlier in the day on with Michael Savage on the old WABC. He sounded like he had lost. He was the most surprised guy in the world. Then 2020, he lost because he lost those same independent women. And now you got J.D. Vance, who sounds like he's a caveman, a Neanderthal, a real hillbilly. And let's face it, Donald Trump had the hillbilly vote. He didn't need J.D. Vance to get the hillbillies were going to vote for Joe Biden? Not. Hillbillies are going to vote for Kamala Harris? Not. Hillbillies going to vote for RFK Jr.? Not. You're going to vote for Donald Trump? You didn't need this guy. I need to hear that Megyn Kelly cut one more time, please. He adds insult to injury.
Obviously, it was a sarcastic comment. I've got nothing against cats. I've got nothing against dogs. I've got one dog at home, and I love him, Megyn. But look, this is not, people are focusing so much on the sarcasm and not on the substance of what I actually said. And the substance of what I said, Megyn, I'm sorry, it's true.
Wow.
Yeah, I still don't understand what the substance of what he said was.
Well, single women are not contributing to America. You're not having children, so you're not a contributor. In fact, part of what he had proposed is that single women, well, I'm using the wrong term, women without children, their own natural born children, should be taxed more than women with children.
Yeah.
I kid you not. So if you happen to be a woman who chose not to have children, or you can't have children, or you're struggling with IV to have children, you would have to pay more money in taxes than women who are bringing children into the world.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This idolatry of the child is kind of an odd thing. I don't really get the fascination with procreation. To be honest with you, I have no idea.
Now, all of a sudden, because of what he said on the Megyn Kelly show, he has stirred the pot with Jennifer Aniston, who is like a little Miss America, right? A little pixie girl, right? All-American girl. I don't ever remember her commenting on politics, right? Not a big one. Susan Sarandon all the time, even when it's not necessary. Jennifer Aniston, not really. She's on Friends, she's a lot of great movies. I don't really think of her in a political sense. Man, she is pissed.
Yeah, she was referencing the fact that I guess she's struggled with trying to have kids, so the process with IVF and things like that. So, I think it was more like that she was saying that, so as opposed to like just, choosing not to have children, but that can be interpreted a lot of different ways, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, again, it's just very odd. It's just an odd choice. I have no idea why he's like not just. I mean, again, but even when you're asking him the question, he still doesn't quite get it. I mean, I guess he still thinks that way, that everyone should be in a normal family sort of unit. But yeah, I don't get it. I'm not sure.
You don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was a good choice to begin with. Neither did Sid Rosenberg. His position on abortion is Neanderthal. Only if it threatens the health of a woman would he permit an abortion, not even for incest and rape. Not even for incest.
So then he wouldn't be for TNR then, right?
Well, why did Trump pick this guy? Why? He was on his way to a slam dunk victory.
Yeah, that's a little disconcerting.
This guy does not want to amend what he said. Simply, I made a mistake. It was foolish. I've had a conversation with my wife. She chastised me. I now understand. I apologize. That's it. It'll still haunt him a little bit, but he'd be able to move on. Now, give me that cut again with Megyn Kelly. This is going to linger now. One more time.
Obviously, it was a sarcastic comment. I've got nothing against cats. I've got nothing against dogs. I've got one dog at home, and I love him, Megyn. But look, this is not, people are focusing so much on the sarcasm and not on the substance of what I actually said. And the substance of what I said, Megyn, I'm sorry, it's true.
It's true. Wow. This guy is in the 1950s. I was birthed in 1954. He sounds like somebody from 1954. It's 2024, J.D. Vance.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he should be procreating either. I can think about it. I don't know if you want to pass those genes on to anybody.
I think you need to give him a vasectomy. I think he's had 3 children already.
I mean, it might be better for the whole world, folks.
My God. I didn't think they made him like that anymore. Really. Went to Yale, went to Silicon Valley. He was so different. Where did this JD come from? 1-800-848-9222.
WABC.
Check this out. No one knows New York better. The founder of the Guardian Angels, Curtis Sliwa.
And you can't compete against that.
On 77 WABC. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
The second-hand unwinds, winds. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I will be waiting. Time after time.
Oh, yeah. Electronic dance music means Nancy Sliwa in the house. You know, I can't mention names, Nancy, but I've known some guys who are holy rollers, holier than thou, truly pro-lifers. I'm pro-choice. I know Sid Rosenberg is pro-choice. But some of these pro-life guys, I ended up finding out, ended up impregnating either their girlfriend or their gumada, an unwanted pregnancy by the guy, not necessarily by the woman. And this pro-life guy, at least in 4 separate occasions, basically told the woman in question that they were going to go to an abortion clinic the next day, they would abort the fetus, and that he would pay in cash. No checks. No checks, cash, because he didn't want anyone to know. Remember, that's what happened with Herschel Walker when he was running for the U.S. Senate. That emerged where the girlfriend said, yep, Herschel said, yes, I'm pro-life, but because you have my baby, you're getting it aborted. We're going to the abortion clinic, and I'm paying in cash. Happens more than you'd know. Now, I'm not going to reveal any names because these are people who have relationships now. It's something they got to live with.
Come on, just name names.
Nope, not in this case. And the hypocrisy is so out there when it comes to this. I'm driving you to the abortion clinic. I'm paying in cash. You're getting an abortion. We're not having that child. Clear, exclamation point, no discussion. Bang. And then the very next day, whether they're giving a speech or they're in the bully pulpit in a church or whatever, they're talking about how the sanctity of life, they're pro-life. I respect you if you're pro-life, but if you're a sanctimonious hypocrite, I have no respect for you whatsoever. Again, it's so typical of people in leadership positions do as I say, but not as I do. I'm not suggesting that J.D. Vance fits in that category, but man, come on, Trump. You should have picked Rubio. You would have had the Latino vote. The election would have been over. Oh, yeah, well, you both lived in Florida. Look, Rubio would have moved to Georgia temporarily. Come on. Our number is 1-800-848-9222. That's 1-800-848-WABC. Let's go to Bob in Long Island. Your turn to be heard here at WABC, Bob.
Yeah, how you doing? Great show. Listen, I took his statement totally different. When he said that the country is being run by, the single woman and stuff like that, the first thing that came to mind to me is not the general public, but politicians. And when you had a guy like in the elections with Terry McAuliffe, when he was, doing his big dance on stage, and he was one of the ones that says, these aren't your kids, these are ours. Or in California, when they came up with this thing that, your kids could have these sex changes and stuff like that, and the teachers are not allowed to, to tell the parents. That I'm thinking that's where that statement came from. I could be totally wrong, but that's the way I took it.
Right, but you see, he was ready to apologize for what he said was sarcasm 3 years ago. I get it. I've been guilty of that. I do a lot of talk radio. I've been doing it for 35 years. I would have to spend a week of my talk radio career apologizing for a lot of the things I've said. We all do that. I don't hold that against them. But when I heard, Bob, the sarcasm a second time with Megyn Kelly, I'm like, I don't think he gets it. It wasn't that he didn't like cats. I think it was more the fact that he was saying that women without children have to be judged differently than women with children, Bob, and that's kind of really unfair.
But he also said the country is being run by. So I thought that kind of left the general public out of the whole thing. I'm thinking along the lines of politicians who are making the rules and everything else like that. So, like I said, in California. So I don't know. I just took it totally different. But
well, unfortunately, it's become the issue now for him. He'll have opportunities to address it again. I don't think it's going away. When a Jennifer Aniston, who is really oftentimes not political, I could be wrong, Nancy, I just don't ever remember her being out there, in a political sense.
No, I don't either, but my other theory too is right that he was just dating someone before his wife who had a cat and just broke his heart, and that's where he makes this weird association from.
Well, maybe he's allergic to cats.
Maybe he got scratched by a cat when he was a kid. This could go deep. We might need to look a little further into this.
That's true. Look, my own mother, Francesca, when you told her how many cats you had when you first met her, you remember she was frightened.
Yeah.
She even told you, she said, look, the way I was raised, we were told to be frightened of cats. Cats are sneaky. Cats can carry disease. This is a carryover from the old world, from Italy. She viscerally, you could see her. She was frightened of saying, how do you survive with the cats? Curtis, are you okay with the cats? My mom. That was interesting. That was the old world attitude towards cats. Anyway, let's go to Gene in Brooklyn. Your turn to be heard here at WABC, Gene.
Yes, Curtis, you make a lot of sense, but I really think that, first of all, he was on Trey Gowdy's show tonight, and Trey Gowdy interviewed him, and he corrected everything he said it the proper way, and Trey Gowdy actually believed what he said. We're not giving that guy the benefit of the doubt. And since we vote for Trump, he's not going to have any say. He's going to get in. Whatever Trump says, they're going to do. That's it.
Right. But you understand, Gene, Donald Trump has said publicly, he even conveyed that to Sid Rosenberg, that he did not think that a vice president choice meant anything, meaning wouldn't change the dynamics of an election. For the most part, I would agree, except being a baby boomer, I remember when the Kennedys reached out to LBJ in Texas, U.S. Senator Texas. They hated LBJ. LBJ hated the Kennedys with a passion. But the Kennedys had done the analytics. They knew if they had LBJ as the vice president, they could beat Richard Nixon, who looked unbeatable. He was a damn good vice president. Turned out to be a lousy president, but a great vice president. And having LBJ on the ticket pushed him to victory, in addition to his father, Joe Kennedy Sr., fixing the election in Crook County, Illinois, with the mob for his son. And then you know what that led to. RFK prosecuting mobsters, and then mobsters saying, why do we help this guy? He's got his brother going after us. So there's the belief that the mob may have whacked JFK. The Cubans upset that JFK did not come to their aid, Alpha 66, when they had practiced in the Everglades to go and take back Cuba from Castro. They had been promised that once they made it ashore, that aircraft carriers offshore that had American planes, the American planes would launch and would give them tactical air support. JFK said no. Or the Roger Stone theory, which sort of tickles me a little bit. He wrote a book on it. He's on the Stone Zone every Sunday, 4 to 6. That it was LBJ behind the plot to whack JFK. I'm I'm leaning in that direction. That was a scurrilous dude, LBJ. He's a nasty guy. But it's almost like Monty Hall. You have door number 1, was it the mob? Door number 2, was it angry Cubans? Door number 3, was it LBJ? And still we haven't resolved the issue of how JFK was assassinated. Some people say, oh, it was Lee Harvey Oswald, single shooter, single bullet theory. No way. No way. And now we have the new shooter boy from Butler County that they're trying to say, oh, he was independent and autonomous, and nobody's buying that. Nobody's buying that.
Yeah, no, it seems highly unlikely. So it'll probably take us as long as it is going to take us to figure out what happened to JFK.
Well, especially you can't trust Secret Service, can't trust the FBI, certainly don't trust CIA, criminals in action, can't trust the NSA, National Security Agency, who swore that they didn't spy on Americans. Remember, clap off, clap on. NSA director for Barack Obama said, we do not spy on Americans. And then the whistleblower proved that was a lie. Mm-hmm. And where is the whistleblower now? Russia.
Oh, that's right.
He had to flee to Russia.
Snowden, right?
That figures. Mm-hmm. Let's go to Kathy in Brooklyn. Your turn to be heard here at WABC. Kathy?
Yeah, Curtis, I just want to tell you that are you taking what J.D. Vance said personal because your wife has no children and she loves cats? Because the substance, I feel the substance he means, and I know this for a fact because I'm your age, Curtis. I'm born in 1955 in Brooklyn. I have 4 children. They're all grown. And I know a lot of the women in this neighborhood, and you know very well Park Slope the way it is. None of these people got kids. They got no skin in the game. And this is what J.D. Vance, I feel, meant. These people got no skin in the game, so they don't care what this world is coming to. They don't care that America is going to hell in a handbasket. You're focusing on the cat business, but he's focusing on when you have offsprings, like you got 3 boys. When we leave this world, Curtis, are we leaving America to the America that we were raised in, or are we leaving America to these Marxist, progressive radicals? You tell me.
Kathy, what does that have to do with childbearing, though? I don't understand.
He was not. He's saying that the people that are running the AOCs, even Carmela, she got no skin in the game because those children are not. They're not her offsprings. Like when you don't have no skin in the game, meaning that when we check out, Curtis, when we check out, me and you check out, we're leaving our kids behind, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, which I got. And we want to leave the America the way we found it. We want to leave America not in the hands of these Marxist, progressive radicals. Don't you see what they're doing? Didn't you see what they did the other day? They're burning the flag, Curtis. They're burning the flag. And nobody's doing a damn thing about it. They're taking over. Forget about the cat business. Forget about it. I know you take it personal because Nancy's a cat lover. That's fine. I love Nancy. I love you, Curtis. I stick up for you all the time. I'm in Park Slope. I could get killed sometimes for the things I say. But let me tell you something, Curtis. We are in a bad way right now. Trump is trying his very best. He almost got killed the other night. He almost got killed. That's not what J.D. Vance is focusing on. He's focusing on the substance, that the people that are making these elites that are making these rules and regulations now, and they're making all these crazy things about gender affirmative, kids. They don't have kids, so they don't understand about children. They don't understand about the world that we were raised in, Curtis. Come on. You know that. Don't focus on the things that J.D. Vance said 3 years ago, because I'm sure that me, you, and everybody else has said a lot of things that and then he said, okay, he was trying to backwalk it, but he said the substance, and you can't figure out the substance is that these people that are making decisions, Curtis, that are making decisions that affect our children's lives, these people have no skin in the game because when they leave this world, they don't give a you know what.
Yeah, right. I know, but Nancy, she's starting to convince me, Kathy.
Well, I'm pretty sure the Marxists and all the crazies, they procreate as well, so they can have the kids. And I mean, I guess it depends what kind of viewpoint you have. I think people, if you're interested in what the world is about and doing something good for it, I don't think it matters whether or not you have children because it's your personal interest. Like, they may be a part of you, like the children, but you're still your own person. So if you're a caring person and you care about what happens to the world, I think it's more socially responsible to not have kids, especially in this day and age. I mean, most people can't afford to have them. I think a lot of people have them, and it's something that if you feel passionately about it, that's great. But I personally think it's smarter and really better for the world to not keep having so many kids.
Matt Blaze, did I throw my wife Nancy under the bus? Did Kathy convince me?
Well, I mean, and also look at the logistics with our situation. I mean, with the age difference, I mean, it's very responsible to not be having children, given that, and you have children, so I can be a stepmom. Like, I don't see anything wrong with that philosophy right there. Like I said, I think that's the smartest thing to do.
Well, especially when we're outside and we're walking around and people go up to you, Nancy, and said, "What is it like to have a father like Curtis?"
Yeah. and I'd say we're pretty responsible people together, and because we don't have the burden hanging over us having to watch kids all the time, that allows us to be more caring about other people. So I don't know.
And then Nancy has to calm me down when I tell that jerk, "You want me to punch your schnoz right down your throat?"
And what happens if you spent your time, you did have a kid who turned out to be a total misfit? Then you'd have to realistically look like you wasted your time. Like, you'd have to realize that too, right? So it all depends how the kids turn out, and a lot of them aren't turning out too good these days. So
yeah. How many times though have you had to sort of calm me down so that I didn't try to punch that guy's schnoz down his throat?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all these situations are different, but like I said, I personally think it gives you more time to care about the rest of society as opposed to creating a kid in which you block out the rest of the world and you're like, I'm just going to focus on these things that I created as opposed to the rest of the world that actually needs help.
Talk about kid sarcastics out there when they say to me, "What did you snatch Nancy right out of the crib?"
Well, that used to happen, but doesn't seem to happen more. I think people know that we're together.
Yeah. I just went up. It's okay.
That's fun too, though, when it happens.
It's okay. It's all right. I'll take my liquid Prozac. I'll calm down. I won't have an anger management moment. 1-800-848-9222.
WABC. Talk Radio 77. WABC. New York's talk station with the king of New York. Curtis Sliwa, 77 WABC. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
You shot it out, but I can't hear a word you say.
Oh yeah, Kathy from Brooklyn, she was reeling me in. She was saying, "You and me, we're the same age. I'm here in the Slope. The Slope." She remembers the Slope when it was a tough neighborhood, Park Slope. It was. Puerto Ricans, Irish, the Italians over in Carroll Gardens. That was a rough neighborhood. Now, you know who lives there.
And I do see people walking around there with baby carriages that have no business having kids. They are creating some really woke people out there.
And you know who else lives there? Part-time mayor, the dope from Park Slope, Bill de Blasio, and his grifter wife, Charlene McCray. Boy, do they live in a freaky-deaky lifestyle. "Oh, we're footloose and fancy-free. We're going to live together and stay married, but we're going to go out there and test the waters." Yeah, because you're afraid of getting sued for the money you stole from a program called Thrive that was meant to help the emotionally disturbed, which it never did. $1.5 billion, and because they remain married, They can't be forced to testify against one another.
Yeah.
Slick. Slick stoners. Anyway, let's go to Marianne in New Jersey. Your turn to be heard here at WABC, Marianne.
Hi, how you doing?
I've had better days.
I've been listening to you for many, many, many years. I am 66, and I think he isn't trying to be negative against women without children. Now, I do have children. They're grown, they're adults now, 36 and 32. But I want to say that, do you remember the saying that you want to leave your children better off than you are? And, you strive to actually make sure that there's more for them and there's an inheritance. You think that way when you do have children. And I think when he said direct stake, that they don't, there's no direct stake into what happens in the country. I think what he's trying to say is that if you do have children, you're very worried about the future when you're gone, because you're thinking in that manner that, oh my God, you don't want anything happening. Because when you die and you have children, you're worried about that you're not there to help them and make sure everything is okay. So I think that's what he is saying. And I also wanted to say that now that I'm older and I have friends who do not have children, that when we were younger, I think you're maybe feeling you feel not having children. But older, you're lucky when you don't have children because you don't have this worry I'm talking about. You don't have to worry about, oh my God, you hear something on the news and you call your adult children and say, don't do this because this can happen. And they laugh at you because they're younger than you and they just laugh you off. You see what I mean?
Yes, I certainly do. That's a very...
What do you think about what I said? That he may be thinking along those lines because he said the word direct stake. That you don't have a direct stake.
Well, the one thing I would say is I've noticed that we have spoiled our kids. Totally. It's a spoiled generation of kids. We worry about everything they do. I just don't remember that being true when I grew up.
And then I think there's kids today, too, are also waiting for their inheritance. So then you have a lot of those kids who are like, all right, maybe you should go into the nursing home, Mom.
That's right.
Yeah.
The blind trust they live off of.
There's a lot, because the kids get spoiled and then people want to do better for their kids than they had themselves. And then they're creating these children who are just, think that everything should be handed to them. And then they wonder why their kids are like that. Yeah.
No. There's an expectation that they should be getting what really is not theirs.
There you go.
They're not out there earning their own. You're right. There are some who are fixated on that. Like it's mandated that they get it.
I mean, I can confirm that my mom does call me whenever she hears anything happened in New York City at all, because she assumes I'm right there at the epicenter of it. I'm like, no, New York City's pretty big. I'm not. Every time something happens, I'm not right there.
That's right. Your mom lives now in Leave It to Beaverland. Father knows best. Little house on the prairie out in rural Pennsylvania, where there are more deer than people. Let's go to Caroline in Rockland County. Your turn to be heard here at WABC. Caroline.
Yeah. Hi, Curtis. How are you?
I've had better days.
Ever since the first time I saw you... What?
Yes, go ahead, Caroline.
Okay, ever since the first time I saw you on TV a long time ago, I said, that's my long-lost son. My friends would say, how do you like him? I said, how do you not like him? So I love you, and I love all your comments and everything. So when I heard you tonight on the radio, I said, I have to call in. J.D. Vance is a military man who put his life on the line for this country while he was in the service. And if the worst thing that anybody could say about him is that he said something 3 years ago that people are disagreeing with, oh well, okay? And I had children, I have adult children, and now I have cats. I help to rescue cats. I think there is some validity and truth in what he said. Now, on the other side, you have a large group of people who are applauding abortion. They are not to be looked up to or emulated. I think J.D. Vance is the best choice for vice president. I think Donald Trump did the right thing by getting him. I think people just need to not be so thin-skinned, okay? You know, I rescue dogs too, and somebody used to make comments to me, "Oh, you and your dogs," and I said, like, this is my fifth life. I raised a family. Oh, I didn't know you had children. I just think that find something else to say. So what? He said something a few years ago. People that are family people don't understand when people don't have families for whatever reason. And people that are not family people don't understand why people want children. I don't know. He's got my vote. The fact that he's military, that he went and...
Well, yeah, in fact, he went in right after high school, served in Iraq, has a great story. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's a story of rags to riches, coming out of, as he called it, hillbilly country, Kentucky. His mother having a bad addiction, I believe, to pills, might have been oxys, and has since recovered. Absolutely a great story, but some of his contentions, like if you're a woman without children, you should pay more taxes than women with children. It's like, I thought Republicans are against people paying taxes, period, lessening the tax load, not transferring it from one group to another group. Let's go to Debbie, who's calling from Long Island. Your turn to be heard here at WABC. Debbie?
Yeah, I don't know what he said, and I agree that Trump should have picked Rubio, but I actually want to comment on the children thing. Unfortunately, I don't have children, and I do agree with the women that are calling and saying, if you have children, you have a very different perspective. You have skin in the game. And if you see what happened with the EU, Angela Merkel, who destroyed the West, frankly, with her policies, she has no children, Eastern European communists. I think a lot of anti-Semitism is from many of these bureaucrats now running the EU who do not have children, and they're envious or they're resentful of a society, Israel, which family is the basis. But yes, it's a very different perspective. And getting old, it really makes you reflect on what will be your legacy. And when you don't have children, it's a very different mentality. And by the way, does Kamala Harris have any of natural children? I know she has stepchildren. I don't know how close she really is. So yes, having children is very relevant to how you go forward in society. I'm just saying that.
Well,
Okay.
would you think that also applies to men as well? Like, are they, more skin in the game if they have kids, or do you think that's independent?
No, I think it might be women. I really don't know, but I suspect it's women. Again, I don't have children. I understand that certain people should not be having children, but I do think, especially as one ages, it's a very different perspective. What is one's legacy when they're gone, or what are they,
I'm hoping for a cat shelter. I think that I like that legacy.
More power to you. But really, if you look at Europe, it has a lot to do with how screwed up they are now. I mean, it's a whole mentality and this whole anti-Semitism. A society that's stable and family-based has a very different mentality. That's all. I don't know. I don't even know what Vance said, and I think he's smart, but I agree with Curtis. Yes, he should have picked Rubio. This is ridiculous. We have to win. We have to win. Forget all this ideology stuff. We have to win. The other side has no ideology. They just want the acquisition of power, and that's it. Thank you for giving me.
Let's just take what should have been, in my mind, and I believe Sid Rosenberg's mind, the choice of Marco Rubio. I know there was the problem of both Donald Trump residing in Florida at the same time as Rubio, who's the U.S. Senator. They had discussed it briefly when it was thought maybe Trump would take DeSantis on, DeSantis being the governor. One of them would have to move out, maybe DeSantis to Georgia, Marco Rubio to Georgia. That could have been worked out. We're talking about a sprint here. There's 100 days left now. It is a sprint. It's not your typical long-term kind of election process. This is more like what we saw in France, like a snap election. 100 days. It's not the norm. Although in a sprint, it takes very few things to change people's minds. And for the purpose of electing Donald Trump, let's hope that J.D. Vance knocks off the sarcasm and gets back on track, because you can't afford to lose the women's vote, or you'll lose.